An epidemic of burnout happening in corporate America with our leadership and our people. And we have the power and the energy in this room to change that by thinking differently in how we approach our leadership and our leadership development. We're spending about $500 million in this country on burnout every single year. It's a problem. And unfortunately, as you all know, it's not just a problem in our corporations, it's also a problem in our country. I'm sad to say that we are the first generation in history that is going to see a shorter expected lifespan in our children than in our parents. We've got to fix this. We can fix this because we can burn bright. Now, previously, 100 years ago, if we wanted to fix something, we would turn to our communities because we lived and we worked in those same places. We spend over 50% of our waking hours with the people that we work with in our companies. And we can change, but we've got to start thinking as if our companies are truly our communities. And I know everyone in this room already does that. We just need to harness that and continue thinking differently. And here's what I want to propose today. We've been thinking about leadership as an in-between-the-ears experience. It's actually not. It's actually a full-body experience. And if we start recognizing that the whole body is in play when we're talking about leadership, what happens is we turn our communities into places of well-being. And we transform how we think about leadership, and we transform how we treat our people. Now, I grew up in a generation where I will call this FOMO leadership. We drove as hard and as fast as we could because we wanted to reach that summit, that peak of our career. And in the process, we let go of our nutrition, we let go of our connection to our body because we thought we were going to miss out if for some moment we stopped and paused and started taking care of ourselves. I did it. I'm a former IT executive. I was in this model. And what happened was I let go of everything, and people really got what was left of me instead of the best of me. Here's the new model. The new model looks like we start focusing on us first. The energy and the agility to meet the demands of our life every single day. I'm going to share an embarrassing story with you because I feel connected already. And here's my embarrassing story. When I was in my early 20s, I made really, really bad dating decisions, horrible. And my beautiful Jewish mother sat me down one day and she said, "Sweetheart," I can't do her accent, so I apologize. "Sweetheart, if you want to learn to love yourself, sweetie, you gotta learn to love yourself first. If you want to lead others, we've got to lead ourselves first. And then we can build that capacity for strong relationships. And then we can build that inspirational leadership. But it starts with us. It truly starts with us. Here's where we're going. I'm going to take you on a journey with nutrition, the body, mindfulness. We're going to touch on each of these areas. But I first want to ask you all in this room, how many people believe to create transformation, whether it's well-being or leadership, information is what we need? If we had enough information, we'd be good. Anyone? One person. I love it. I love it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. I wish that were true. I do. I wish, because we have more information than we could ever imagine having at this point in our life on health, on nutrition, on leadership. We've got it, right? We've got so much information, and yet we're not transforming. How about if I sprinkle some motivation? How many people think information, motivation, we're getting there? Couple people? No? No one else raised their hand? You all are very right. It's not information and it's not motivation. I want to share with you a study that was done at Johns Hopkins University. They took a group of people that had been through bypass surgery, heart bypass surgery, and they gave them all the information that they needed to make a significant lifestyle change. And they had that motivation, right? I mean, what's more motivating than you might not be on the earth anymore if you don't make a change? Unfortunately, what they found, 1 in 7 people were able to make a lifestyle change. So this man behind me, Dr. Ornish out of California, he did a different study. He said, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to take the exact same sample, not the exact same people, but the same representative sample of people who have been through bypass surgery. And he said, I'm going to give them all the information, but now I'm going to come from a different place. I'm going to come from a place of possibility and vision and help all of these people envision what is possible for their life if they make a lifestyle change. And what he found was that that sample, 6 out of 8 people in that sample was able to make a lifestyle change. So I'm going to ask us to pause for just a moment before I take you on the journey of the nutrition and the body. What's possible for you in this moment? Just think about if you really connected your well-being to your leadership performance. What's your vision for you at your best, your most energized self? What does that look like? I'm a leadership coach. You probably figured that out. I'm also a nutritionist. And when I started in this journey, I can tell you that most people looked at me like I was crazy. They said, you are on way different career tracks. What are you doing? And even my schools were confused by me. Are you a nutritionist? Are you a leadership coach? What in the world are you doing? And to me, it made sense because how we fuel our body matters in how we show up each and every day. I want to share with you a story that really shows this. I was coaching a COO of a hospital. We're going to call him Joe. That's not really his name. Joe came to me, and Joe was the kind of man, when he walked into a room, you just kind of felt yourself stand up a little straighter because he had so much presence. And I started interviewing the organization to learn more about his leadership and where we really needed to work. And what I found out is that people kept saying, oh, he lacks leadership presence. Are we talking about the same person? I couldn't understand how people were getting that impression of Joe. So I started digging deep, because that's what we leadership coaches do. We keep asking questions. And I found out that this man, right around 2:30, 3 o'clock, was having that dip in energy. Anybody ever experienced that before, right? We go through that. And it was so severe for Joe that he was falling asleep during the meeting. He was kind of, doing one of these where he wasn't, on the desk asleep, but he was starting to fall asleep and starting to disconnect and disengage. And so I could have given him all the leadership coaching in the world, but what I actually needed to do was change his breakfast so that his blood sugar was stabilized and that he was awake and present because he had that. And that's the difference. That's the connection. Sometimes we have to look at our physiology. We have to look at how we're fueling our body. And don't we do this far too often in corporate America? Oh, we're going to have a meeting? Let's just fuel with caffeine and sugar for energy. You all are going to be ready. And what happens? We do this with leadership offsites. We do this with our people. And really what we need to be doing is feeding them a diet like this. Rich in nutrients, because actually these nutrients, these are the things that actually get the neurotransmitters in our brain working at our best. These are the things that give us energy to feel engagement, to think deeper, to be present. That's what we need to revolutionize as step 1. How are we feeding our leaders? How are we feeding our people? Because it's not okay anymore to sacrifice our nutrition in service of trying to get to the peak of our leadership. So I want you to have an experience with the body. So I'm going to ask everybody, you don't have to stand up, but I just want you to raise your hands to the sky and look up. Just in your seats in this moment. You got it? Now I want you to think about all your problems. It's pretty hard, right? Okay, you can put your hands down. Okay, why that's hard is because our body tells us so much. It helps our brain think. And social science over the last 10 years has really changed the game because what they've shown is it's the body that also helps our brain. Why this is funny is that our body is actually in a position of gratitude. And so when I ask you to think about your problems, it's hard. And you giggle because your body's going one way and your mind's going the other, and it's confusing. The body matters. The body matters in how we show up, not only for how people perceive us, but how we perceive ourselves. Posture Everybody kind of sits up a little bit straighter. Matters, right? We're in this rounded society where we're looking at our iPhones, and if you don't have an iPhone, sorry, your Samsung. We're looking at our phones all the time. We're on our computer. And what you can do, simple, is just sit up straighter. That's going to give you more focus and more confidence. That's what the science is showing. So I'm going to give you the simplest way to start working on your posture today. I want you to put one hand on your chest and one hand on your stomach. And just take an easy breath in this moment. And now, I want you to focus, if your hand on your chest raised, I want you to focus on raising the hand on your stomach. One more breath. Okay, you can put your hands down. I'm going to tell you exactly what's happening. That's called diaphragmatic breathing. We're changing the way that we breathe. Unfortunately, we're in a society of chest breathers right now. We should be diaphragmatic breathing. When you send the breath into the stomach, what you're doing is you're strengthening the diaphragm. You're also helping your nervous system calm down. And just by changing the way you breathe, you can actually improve your posture. So I mainly coach very busy people. I'm sure you all don't relate to that at all. When you're really busy, one of the things I hear from you right at the beginning is, I don't have time for this. So I look at my clients and I say, oh, do you have time to breathe? And they usually say yes. So this is something simple that you can start doing right now that really makes a difference in your posture and how you feel and in your stress levels. Mindfulness. Wow, this has been really an interesting practice because many of us believed that meditation was for people that were monks or Boulder, right? I get to say that. I'm from Boulder, so I get to say that. And the truth is that we've been able to start mapping the brain now. There's really amazing technology that's showing the benefits of mindfulness and meditation on how we relate to others, on our emotional intelligence. And so corporate America has grabbed onto this and said, okay, we can start embracing this. And I want to share with you what this is about. And I want to start, before I get into the neuroscience, I want to share with you a metaphor for what meditation is all about. You can think about meditation in the mind a lot like water, right? Our thoughts are jumpy all over the place. We have a million demands on us, so much happening. And when we are going at that pace, it looks like the water when it's choppy, right? We just see the surface. We don't get down to the depths of our thinking. When we still the waters, what we do is we actually can see to our deepest level. And what this looks like from a neuroscience perspective is we have this part of our brain called the amygdala. And you can think of that as the emotional center where we get really jumpy. Sometimes we get into fight, flight, or freeze, okay? And the prefrontal cortex is the deeper level of thinking, so that still water. 8 weeks of meditation, 5 minutes a day, actually changes the brain. Harvard did a whole study with people. It grows the prefrontal cortex and shrinks the amygdala. So we can actually change our brain. People ask me all the time, do you want me to meditate because it's relaxing and there's stress relief? Yes, and I want you to start thinking about meditation as gym for the brain, right? We go to the gym to get strong in life. Meditation is so that we get to tap into that deeper level of thinking at our most stressful moments. That's what meditation does for us, and that's the gift it can give us in our capacity with others. I hope that you're starting to think about leadership a little bit differently, that you're seeing how the fuel that we put into our body, how we treat our body, how we show up, and how we treat our mind matters in the context of leadership and leadership development. And I know this is a little out of the box, and that it's going to take a movement and power and energy to make this happen, to change our communities to be places of well-being. And it starts with how we look at our leadership. So I'm going to invite you today to start a movement. Start a movement in changing how we think about leadership. Create support. Think differently. And I want to share with you a video on how we can each really start a movement in our world.
If you've learned a lot about leadership and making a movement, then let's watch a movement happen start to finish in under 3 minutes and dissect some lessons. First, of course, a leader needs the guts to stand alone and look ridiculous. But what he's doing is so simple, it's almost instructional. This is key. You must be easy to follow. Now here comes the first follower with a crucial role. He publicly shows everyone else how to follow. Notice how the leader embraces him as an equal. So it's not about the leader anymore, it's about them, plural. Notice how he's calling to his friends to join in. So it takes guts to be a first follower. You stand out and you brave ridicule yourself. Being a first follower is an underappreciated form of leadership. The first follower transforms a lone nut into a leader. If the leader is the flint, the first follower is the spark that really makes the fire. Now here's the second follower. This is a turning point. It's proof the first has done well. Now it's not a lone nut, and it's not two nuts. 3 is a crowd, and a crowd is news. A movement must be public. Make sure outsiders see more than just the leader. Everyone needs to see the followers, because new followers emulate followers, not the leader. Now here come 2 more people, then 3 more immediately. Now we've got momentum. This is the tipping point, and now we have a movement. As more people jump in, it's no longer risky. If they were on the fence before, there's no reason not to join in now. They won't stand out, they won't be ridiculed, and they will be part of the in crowd if they hurry. And over the next minute you'll see the rest who prefer to stay part of the crowd, because eventually they'd be ridiculed for not joining. And ladies and gentlemen, that is how a movement is made. So let's recap what we've learned. If you are a version of the shirtless dancing guy, all alone, remember the importance of nurturing your first few followers as equals, making everything clearly about the movement, not you. Be public, be easy to follow. But the biggest lesson here, did you catch it? Leadership is overglorified. Yes, it started with the shirtless guy, and he'll get all the credit, but you saw what really happened. It was the first follower that transformed a lone nut into a leader. There's no movement without the first follower. See, we're told that we all need to be leaders, but that would be really ineffective. The best way to make a movement, if you really care, is to courageously follow and show others how to follow. When you find a lone nut doing something great, have the guts to be the first person to stand up and join in.
I ask you today, will you be a version of that dancing man? And will you courageously follow? Because it's going to take a movement to transform our communities, and we can transform our country. Thank you so much.